Hey people, it's Dan Phoenix here. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you how you can safely reintroduce non-carnivore foods back into your diet after being on a carnivore diet long term. And the reason why I can give you advice on this in this video is because I was on a carnivore diet for many months, and I, in the last 2 months, have reintroduced certain plant foods back into my diet without getting actually any negative effects whatsoever. And I've also done just a lot of research on this subject, so I'm definitely someone that can definitely give you good advice on this. So before I go on to tell you how to safely reintroduce them back into your diet, I first want to say one of the reasons why I made this video is I made a video the other day talking about me introducing certain non-carnivore diet foods back into my diet because I couldn't gain weight on the carnivore diet. If you haven't seen that video, click the link up above if you want to learn more on that. And I had 2 comments. One from Precious Paradise saying, Dan, do share the carb sources that are working for you. After 2 years of carnivore, I'm down to beef fat, egg yolks, and kefir only. I'm as skinny as hell and very bored with this extremely limited diet. And then we had Brandon Lane asking about after being on a vegan diet for 7 years and getting negative effects from it, as anyone that's on a long-term vegan diet seems to get because it's a malnourishing, unsustainable diet, asked if I want to go carnivore just long enough to heal my gut, then add rice and potatoes back later in, how long would you suggest before trying carbs again? So hopefully this video will help both of these people. And something that I want to mention is there's certain high profile carnivore teachers out there such as Sean Baker that was on Joe Rogan's show around 3 years ago, and he said after being on a carnivore diet he tried reintroducing an apple back into his diet. He ate the apple and he got extremely negative effects and symptoms from it that just made him scared off of trying anything that was not a carnivore food. But to be honest, when I listen to certain carnivores that try to reintroduce certain foods that are not a staple on a carnivore diet and not suitable for a carnivore diet, they tend to do things wrong. So I'm going to teach you how to not do it wrong. And yeah, if you just do some research into apples, most apples are stored for up to 2 years in cold storage with low oxygen levels, high carbon dioxide levels, and then they're covering most of them in wax and 1-methylcyclopropene, and they do all really bad things to them. So these apples are not safe for anyone to consume in any way, shape or form, and anyone's going to get negative effects from them, whether they're on a carnivore diet or not. But not everyone's going to be so aware whether they're getting negative or beneficial effects to them, because most people just don't have any awareness around food and how it is affecting them. So first off, before you try and reintroduce any of the foods back into your diet after being on a carnivore diet long term, do not be stupid. I've seen people do this time and time again, where they're like, okay, I want to add in rice or potatoes or some other type of plant food. And then what they have a tendency to do is they go and consume lots of it. And their body is not used to that food. One, your gut microbiome is not a match for that food, because when you start eating certain foods consistently, your gut microbiome environment changes. So your body needs to get used to a new food when you're putting it back in your diet. And also you can just flood the body with an abundance of plant toxins that your body's not been used to for a long time, and fiber as well. So of course you end up feeling like crap. So this is why I'm making this video, so you don't do stupid things like this. So that is my warning. So make sure you stay safe and follow what I'm going to share with you in this video to do it as safely as possible. So first off, when you're trying to reintroduce certain foods back into your diet, consume very small amounts at first, for the reasons that I just mentioned a moment ago. And then make sure you also only try one thing at a time, because if you're trying many different things at once, the combination can just be a very bad food combination, which could cause you some negative issues holistically. And also, if it does affect you in a negative way, well, you're like, well, which thing caused it? So don't make it very complicated for your body, so you can know what's going on, what's affecting you in a negative way or a beneficial way. So what I'd recommend is get a log book, or you could do it on a note on your phone and write down how you are feeling mentally, physically, holistically, digestive wise. I can just do this in my head without writing it down, but not everyone can do this. Try one new food in a small amount, and then do not reintroduce any other foods back into your diet for anywhere up to a week when you're trying out a new food, because you may not get instant negative effects from the new food that you're consuming. It might actually come days after you have consumed it. So then if you're reintroducing many different things over many different days, you're not going to know which ones affect you in a negative way again and which ones are giving you benefits. And then what I say, when you're new to reintroducing new foods back into the diet, they haven't eaten for a long time, start off with ones that have the least plant toxins in and the most tolerable for people. So one of the best ones would be basmati white rice. Other white rices are not as suitable for people, can cause more issues than basmati rice. Basmati rice seems to have the least complications of people when consuming it due to having the least plant toxins within it. Do not consume brown rice or black rice whatsoever. It contains an abundance of arsenic, phytic acid, and many other plant toxins that will most certainly have a negative effect on you. And then, like, if you want to reintroduce fruit, adding in like dried fruits would have had sulfites to it, and then due to them being dried, they're really high in salicylates, very high in histamines and other plant toxins. The likelihood of you feeling very bad from it compared to a fresh fruit is just going to be way higher. So do your research and find out which are some of the plant foods that you can add in that have the least plant toxins possible. So then you're more likely not going to get any negative effects from it, or if you do, it'd be very minimal. And then, as I mentioned with the apple, most apples out there are messed around with like crazy. So be very aware of the certain foods that you're putting into your diet. If they're sprayed with pesticides a lot and they're just messed around with like big time and they do all strange weird things to them that don't make any sense whatsoever, then you might get a reaction from the things that they're adding to those foods that just make it so it's very, very toxic for you. So then when you're doing your little experiments with everything that I've mentioned with reintroducing foods as safely as possible back into your diet, if you find that certain foods start to affect you in a negative way, say you add rice in and you notice days later you're not feeling good, which different people will get different negative effects if they're going to get negative effects from reintroducing rice back into their diet, then just stop consuming it completely. Or you can do what I did, because certain times I did get negative effects from rice, but because at first I was adding in a small amount and then I was like, oh, okay, I feel good from it, let's add in more. And then I started feeling some very negative effects holistically. And then I was like, yeah, I'm going to keep away from this. But then I came back to it and then I slowly increased the amount that I was eating over a period of time. And then I found I got no negative effects from it. But you might not be someone that finds that you can do this. You might have one grain of rice and still feel like crap. So listen to your body. Your body knows best. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. We are all different and we're all different places on our own physical health journey. So that's just something to be aware of. So yeah, listen to your body. If you feel good from a certain food, even days after eating it, then continue eating it. And then just add in one other new food at a time. Oh, and one important thing from my own experience, at one point I was having plain beef patties with rice and I felt really good from it. And then I wanted to add a lot of fat to the rice. So I was adding beef tallow that I've melted down on the hob. And oh my God, it started giving me gas and bloating, and it was inhibiting the digestion and assimilation of the food to be as fast as possible, because it would get stuck in my stomach for hours and hours and hours, and then I get acid reflux and it was not good. But yeah, I don't do that anymore. That happened a long time ago and I don't get those issues due to not adding the beef tallow with it. And I've had this also happen with other fats as well. But if I actually have like cheese or beef tallow on the patty and don't mix it into the rice, that seems to be absolutely fine. And something that's really important to know is, yes, you may be feeling good from the specific food that you've reintroduced for quite some time, but we are not static beings. We are forever changing, just like our environment and just like the seasons and so on. And there's so many people that do this on so many different diets. They're like, oh, that thing was making me feel amazing, and they get later down the line, it's affecting them in a negative way due to one reason or another that you may understand or not, and they attach themselves to it because they've really liked the taste of the food or for some other reason. But as soon as you notice that it affects you in a negative way, then just remove it. It is really as simple as that, and try out some other things and see how you are with that. And before I end the video, two last things that go hand in hand. When you're eating specific plant foods on a regular basis, you can start to get an accumulation of plant toxins in your body that can affect you in a negative way. But I only have seen this really when someone has been on a vegan or vegetarian diet for a very long time. It seems that when people are normally eating high quality animal foods, or even if it's coming from factory farm food sources on a regular basis, they don't necessarily seem to get this issue go on. And the reason could be is, for example, with histamines, you have an enzyme that should be produced within the body in an abundance called DAO. And guess what this enzyme does? It deactivates and metabolizes histamines that is coming from foods. But so many people are missing all of the different, or some of the different precursor nutrients for your body to produce this enzyme in an abundance. And what a lot of people do is they just get a DAO enzyme supplement, which isn't really addressing the root cause of the issue. It's actually due to having certain nutritional deficiencies from certain micronutrients. And if you want me to talk about all the ins and outs, that's a whole other video that needs to be made on that topic. But that is something to be very, very aware of. So when you have an abundance of many different micronutrients in the body, you also won't necessarily get an accumulation of certain plant toxins such as histamines and other different ones. So then you can eat plant foods indefinitely without getting any issues with it. Well, at least if it's due to you being low in things such as DOA enzyme, and then you're correcting it so you have an abundance so that your body can actually process the histamines rather than them just accumulating and building up in the body in a negative way, when then you have a whole host of health issues and symptoms that it will induce within you due to having too many histamines, which is not a good thing at all. And actually, I'm going to add one last thing on. If you want to be even safer when trying out new foods, just eat that food on its own. So if you want rice, just eat a smaller amount of rice on its own, because you may find combining it with certain animal foods may have a negative effect on you. And maybe you just need to eat it on its own so your gut microbiome can adapt and change its environment, so then you can eat that food in an abundance with other foods without getting any issues from it. So that's it from me and this video. Got any questions? Leave them down below. Leave your comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And make sure you do click that bell notification button and the subscribe button. Otherwise, you'll not be notified when those new videos are uploaded. Don't delay. Do it. Most of you are not subscribed. I know that from looking at my statistics on my YouTube channel. So yeah, thanks for subscribing if you just did. So as always, stay fit, stay energetic, and enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.